And this is what Hyperion need.
And what you mentioned is that you think if you're going to point in anywhere mechanically maybe isn't the best for Misfits, the bot lane is maybe the slightly weaker area mechanically. And some of that I've seen has been really good from Hyperion has been their bot lane. EU Twisted Fate has been very, very good, especially when he's on that Varus pick, for instance. I think there is opportunities here for the early game, Hyperion, to get that early game dominance that they've had in the games that we've seen from them, because Misfits have classically shown only one weakness, and that weakness has been portions of their early game.
We'll have to see if that's going to be the case. Draft is underway, though. Tahm Kench going to be the first ban taken away from Dajin there, as well as EU Twisted Fate getting that Xayah banned away. And a mid lane ban of the Rise and a Skarner to follow up from Hyperion.
Yeah, it makes sense. The two Predator junglers, Skarner and Olaf, extremely strong. Seen a Sejuani ban, so I mean, Hyperion might have backed themselves in a corner here, because if they don't ban away Olaf, they're giving this high priority jungler over to Afflict.
And you always have the Zac back up as well, which is obviously another high priority jungler too. So you think that Misfits are going to get one of the two junglers right now, just based on this ban phase, that are going to be pretty good for them. So Hyperion are going to have to really think.
I mean, they go for the. I think that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Going to trade. Doesn't mean they end up banning to mid lane as well, but I think that makes sense. Special, a very high caliber player, played in Spain, played in Challenger Series, I believe, and looks like they're going to pick up the Galio, which went through, which is a pick that we don't see go through too often against the higher tier teams. A lot of pressure.
Special kicked butt on that pick the other day as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a strong pick. It's not what I would have expected to see on that first pick, but maybe not minding which of those two junglers we were talking about they get. Maybe just changing what they personally want to focus on, and maybe they know about Emmy's hero pool. Maybe this is something that.
Well, given the ban phase, right, you don't need to pick your jungler now because you know that they're going to be left open. It's unlikely that they'll pick Zac and Olaf together, for instance. Obviously, you don't have to go for Zac or Olaf, but given that they are up there right now in terms of the junglers, you can pick something else at high priority, just given that there's, both of them are left available, right? So Galio feels high priority to special. He's a very, very good Galio player.
All right, here we go. EU Twisted Fate is going to have his Varus. We saw this from him in the highlights earlier on today. He was playing incredibly well on that Varus, so I'm excited to see what he can do with that pickup here in the game.
It's something that he's awesome on, so.
Yeah, just a note on the other side, the Camille hover coming out. I think it's come through as a pick. Makes a lot of sense for the Galio. Galio ult coming down, obviously you want to get out of it. Camille stops you from being able to do that, and also a good flex. They can send a top lane on Jakari, or they can send into the jungle, and it makes it difficult for Hyperion if they're going to ban away. Interesting to see what is picked here. Could be something like a Caitlyn if they want to secure the AD carry pick. Actually going towards the jungle.
Wow, interesting.
It does confirm that Camille will be top lane. Is a decent pick to blind. Guess that, I mean, Kha'Zix is a strong pick in this meta, and Afflict is particularly a jungler who, contrasting to Wyndham Reigns Dan, who I'm not saying he can't play aggressive, but does play a more calculated game. Afflict is very, very aggressive a lot of the time, and I think this Kha'Zix pick is what he needs to facilitate that.
I would say that Afflict is a bit like Taxa. You know, from XL, they both have a similar play style. They both like to be on these kind of aggressive champions. Yep. The interesting thing about this Camille and Galio pick is it opens up a 1-3-1 double teleport, just like you can see with their summoner spells locked in. Both of them can very easily flex into that position. Great wave clear, great split pushing presence from the Camille, so gives you a breadth of strategies that you can approach from this initial pick phase here.
For sure, and they're not exactly bad at brawling either. Yeah. It's not like that's the only strategy that they could run with there. Zac is going to be locked in, and it's going to be a Caitlyn ban. That's going to be countered out with a Talia ban there, so keeping Emmy off of that one.
Yeah, Misfits forfeited getting priority picks on bot lane. Caitlyn ban comes away, which is obviously a very safe and good pick, especially if you're going for a 1-3-1. But Misfits are now in position. They forced Hyperion to take this priority jungler to Zac. Now they can start banning away laners that they don't want to deal with. Talia obviously has a role, so you can match Galio's pressure to an extent. Be interesting to see if they go for another mid lane ban, maybe the Corki, who similarly can package across and has a good matchup in a Galio, or potentially a top lane counter to give Shikari a better lane in phase.
I think that's one of the things that we need to mention is that the counter picks are there for Hyperion if they want them. If they want to try and get solo lane pressure, the counter picks are definitely there. In terms of AD carries that are left up available now, we know Sivir is still pretty good, and Sivir can, with the good wave clear, work in a 1-3-1 nicely, and also brings this team fight together too over the side of Misfits. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see that as a potential pick. Yeah,
could potentially see a Janna as well, just offers disengage from the Zac. Lots of options. We are seeing the Poppy come out from down, which is somewhat of a pocket pick for him, but also on 8.4 was buffed, giving a bit more power in the early game, a bit more damage on the charge, and a bit more shield on the passive. And it's a good matchup into Camille as well, being able to interrupt her dash and also knock her in the wall. And the main thing is the ult counter, you know, you can knock her out.
There we go. We've got Crisper grabbing a Sivir and a Janna coming on through as well. You mentioned the Janna against the Zac. Definitely a fantastic matchup there.
A nice one too from me, myself and Ox. You know.
Yeah. And I think this shows exactly what Misfits want to do. Sivir, Janna, extremely safe. They just want to chill mid, clear some waves, remain a safe bot lane while they have the split push pressure. And Afflict is going to try and take over this game and just move between the solo lanes. Hyperion.
We are going to have a Malzahar lock-in to round things out there.
I think it's a decent pick. They've taken away a lot of these standard sort of counters to Galio. I mean, Corki's still open, but they've opted for the Malzahar as something that can actually pressure the Galio. When you get 6, you can ult him. There is a chance of killing him. But also, when you have champions like Camille and you have a Kha'Zix, they struggle if they get ulted by Malzahar. I mean, as any champion does, but particularly these squishier, high damage mobile champions, you just press R on them. And
exactly.
yeah.
You dive in, R comes down. It also forces you to delay your build slightly because of the need for a Quicksilver Sash at some point, you know, in that build. So item spikes get delayed slightly. Also, Malzahar has the grace of being able to clear waves quite nicely. You know, so you're going to get shoved by Galio maybe in a side lane, but you can always push that back quite easily. You can clear waves against him quite easily. Very interesting set of compositions coming through. Yeah, I think I'm in Misfits, sort of slightly leaning towards Misfits simply because they have that ability to not only do a 1-3-1, and especially if they get their Camille rolling, she should start really putting pressure on the Poppy. But the fact is that they can, with the Sivir, very easily collapse into a very coherent team fight. Even if you get ulted by the Malzahar, the Galio ultimate is just going to reduce damage in that area. It's also going to force people away from capitalizing on that ulted Malzahar pick. So you just Galio ult the Malzahar ulted person, and suddenly things can turn around quite nicely.
And the issue is, who do you ult? I mean, obviously people are going to invest in QSSs, but there's the Camille who's a threat, then there's the Kha'Zix who's a threat, and then even if you manage to deal with them, Sivir's just going to be shredding you with these, not just normal ricochets, as we saw in the last game, we're doing so much damage. Yeah. But Janna buffed ricochets, which will shred later in the game. And I think in the previous game, we said very much Enclave had a clear scaling comp that would outscale. I don't think it's as evident here. I think, you know, there is a strong team fight on the side of Hyperion, but Misfits still have a decent amount of scaling, but their 1-3-1 is excellent.
Yeah. The problem that I see for the side of Hyperion is that even if they get into a team fight situation, it's a very single target focus, like the Malzahar really single target focus. Poppy, she might be able to split the team fight up, and this might be where it comes in. I think Poppy will be the deal breaker if we get to team fight situations, because if she can use her W and actually stop a lot of the engage from the Kha'Zix, stop a lot of engage from the Camille, separate out the team fight, she can stand between some members of Misfits, and then while they focus that single target with the Malzahar ultimate, maybe that split that Poppy can provide will allow them to get that single target focus down and one by one pick off the remaining members of Misfits. But if it comes to like ease of execution, I'm looking at Misfits composition and saying that's easy. Like late game, I'm just going to hit W as Sivir, ricochet everybody to death when my front line tanks it.
Yeah, and it's a difficult situation when not only do you have the easy to execute composition, but you're an undefeated team.
All right, well, we'll have to see if they can continue that undefeated streak as we do jump onto the map. Thank you once again, Excalibur, for joining us there. It's going to be myself and Orcs once again taking the game away. Misfits versus Hyperion. Now, Misfits undefeated so far this season. They've been looking fantastic, but Hyperion did look good against Wind and Rain earlier on in the week. They didn't manage to win the game, but they certainly gave it a good go. It was definitely a lot closer than you would have expected. So I'm excited to see what they can do here against Misfits and see if they can actually, you know, make a victory happen against one of the top teams, because, you know, Hyperion and Razier Governors, they're 1-5 currently. They're in a position where either of those teams can still make it to playoffs. And Hyperion, if they could take a win off of Misfits, they wouldn't just get closer to playoffs, but they'd make a statement while doing it.
Absolutely. It'd be such a huge confidence boost. I mean, just having not a completely successful, but a good-looking game against Wind and Rain is huge for the confidence. And hopefully they're going to be able to bring that out here again. I mean, it's difficult going up against an undefeated team, but they've got everything to play for. I think they're going to look at this as a situation where you're against possibly the top, if not one of the top teams in the league. They have other games to make up the difference. They have other games to get ahead of Razier Governors. Just put out your best performance here. Put a bit of fear into the Governors' blood.
Yeah.
And just play your best. And the thing is, when you're playing against a team like Misfits, who are obviously very high caliber, you learn a lot. They'll punish mistakes you may not realize you are making, and it's how you improve. And it is getting towards the end of the season, but there is still time. And if Hyperion can keep making improvements, you know, they have that chance to come in and get that last spot in playoffs.
That's the key thing that you said there is, you know, while it is close to the end of close to the end of the season, it isn't there just yet. So you're right in saying that not only teams can learn here, but also these games matter so much because there is still room to maneuver. We don't have our teams locked in just yet. So I'm excited to see how this one is going to pan out and how Hyperion are going to be able to do in this matchup. So far, Dan losing out in this matchup against Shikari when it comes to the trades, but that's kind of typically what you would expect. Camille typically does very well against these tankier characters.
Yeah, especially with the Comet. You just poke the W essentially.
Nice little block there from Dan though, just to try and deny some of that trade. But all things considered, you'd expect that lane to be fairly quiet early on in the game. Even if you can get good damage down onto Poppy. Poppy's not the easiest laner to kill.
Yeah, I think once Shikari gets to level 6, if you bring Afflict up there and potentially special as well, that's when you sort of look to be able to punish. But until then, you're just going to farm up. We are actually seeing an invade coming from Afflict. And he's just going to steal away that blue buff.
Comfortable little steal there coming on through. Demo had actually gone back to base, and now he's going to be heading towards that side of the map, only to discover that both Gromp and blue buff have been taken away. And Afflict, he's quite happy to stay there because he knows that, let's say Demo walks around that next corner, Afflict is happy to take that 1v1.
Yeah. And I mean, I have no Demo personally. He hates getting counter jungled. He hates cheesy jungling. I can only imagine he's just walked in, he's seen his blue buffs missing, he's not going to be happy. But great for Afflict here. He's gotten a CS lead already. And you can see there's only a 200 gold lead, which isn't massive, but 3 minutes into the game is what you want to see from your Kazakhs, getting just little incremental leads and make something happen with it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can turn that little lead into something, and that's the key thing. That's what we saw when we were looking at Enclave versus M&M. There was a huge lead on the Kane for M&M on Scudzy. He was doing an awesome job in the early game to get a lead. We need to see that turn into a victory, though, and we'll see whether Afflict, if he can build this lead. I mean, right now it's a minuscule lead, but if he can turn that into more and then actually convert that, that's what we want to be looking out for.
Oh, and this is such a bad situation for Demo. Put a control ward to try and get some freedom in the river, started doing the scuttle, Afflict turns up, pushes him off, kills the control ward, and you know, I mean, yes, he gets to pick up his Raptors now, but he spent a lot of time just walking about, and you can see the gold lead. Again, it's not huge, but if you look at the CS differences between Afflict and Demo, he's about 3 camps ahead, and this early in the game that is significant, and it's what you need on a pick like Kazakhs to snowball.
Especially when 2 of the camps belong to Demo in the first place as well. It's not just that he's got them ahead, it's also that he's denied them from his opponent.
Yeah, and we see Demo's, I mean, he's in a position where he was channeling a recall, but he's sort of lost. His camps have been taken, he's not really sure what he wants to do. Hanging around in top and might look for, I think he was just clearing out the wave there, top lane. But Afflict's just going to keep farming, and he's now got a level lead. And this is great for Misfits already. I mean, we said they want to sort of capitalize in this early game comp, something that Misfits haven't been as good for. And I think this is good that they're showing signs of playing towards a change in meta. Because obviously Misfits have been very dominant throughout the split, but the meta has shifted. Big changes to the Elder, Drake, and the Baron, and you can't just rely on getting to late game anymore, which was, in a lot of games, what Misfits did. And here they're going, no, we're not a one-trick pony. We're going to switch things up. We're going to go for a more early game focused comp. And so far, I mean, it's early days, starting the game, but they're showing they know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to see if they can keep this going and if they can turn this into anything. The gold difference, only 200 right now, or 300 between the two teams. So it's certainly not something where Misfits have already run away with the game, but compositionally, you would expect in the next few minutes, now that ultimates are going to start to come on through, that's when we'll see them start to make a move, especially, I mean, when you talk about Galio, you expect that once you've got that ultimate, you're going to be wanting to make those cross-map plays and really abuse that power spike.
Yeah, I mean, for Misfits, that is what you're waiting for. You're waiting for the level 6 from the Galio, and it just puts so much pressure on every single lane. And I mean, it's not just difficult for every other lane, but it's difficult for Emmy as well, because if he feels like Galio's moving, the normal reaction is to shove. But you're going to be looking at a Kha'Zix who can stealth from the brush. What if he jumps on you? Oh, okay, maybe you can ult him. What if Galio ults the Kha'Zix? It's just so difficult to play around this pick, and that's why we see so much priority on it.
Gage coming out from Dajin there. They're not actually going to turn it into anything. I thought he was going to go a little bit more aggressive there, but I think just wanted to make sure that wave doesn't quite go underneath the turret. I'm
liking the confidence, though. I think that's something that's difficult, is when you face a team who are at the top, undefeated as well. A lot of players might, you know, psych themselves out, think, oh, we can't beat them. These guys are too good. But EU, Twisted Fate, and Dajin are trading into Chris Big and Prosper. They're not giving anything up for free. Especially considering EU Twisted Fate's one of the big players here. You want to see that. Here we go. Ultimate coming through down onto Dan. And I mean, a Camille and a Kha'Zix in a 2v1 against you. That's never going to go too well. Dan goes down for first blood. Yeah, and I think he got stunned by Shikari, which cancelled his ult out, which is not what you want to see. I mean, that's the counter with Poppy, is that you ult Camille away when she ults you. Yeah. But it got interrupted and ends up dying. And the thing is, the major issue there is Galio didn't even have to do anything. And we would talk about how impactful this Galio ult is. It's still up. And Misfits have got a kill onto their Kha'Zix. It's not what you want to see. Yeah, they're feeling good. Nice little start for them. Afflict feeling good in this matchup, and he'll start to slowly but surely get towards that warrior enchant on his jungle item as well. So certainly a good little start to things, and you can see just clearing away these minions in the mid lane as well. I think it's worth mentioning that we do have obviously Malzahar in this mid lane. This matchup will be fairly passive between the two laners, but it's good to see that the CS difference isn't too much right now, because Malzahar actually can be a bit of a pain to CS on, honestly, because sometimes your Malefic Visions just don't do what you want it to. Absolutely, and this is why people pick Galio. It's not just the fact the ult's great, it's not just the fact he's pretty tanky, it's his shoving power. You can see when the Winds of War come in, cut through the minions, and it can be hard for Malzahar, because if you don't get the shove going, if you don't have the AP to kill those minions, your visions don't spread, and if you're trapped in his tower, it's just, his auto attacks are not fun to CS on. Yeah, it does get a little bit hopeless sometimes, and he's actually started with a tier as well, so making sure that he's able to just spam out those Malefic Visions as much as possible, making sure that he can do whatever he needs during this lane phase. We do have a pause coming on through, so gives us an opportunity to kind of take stock of what's happened, because across the board, everything's fairly even, but you've got to look towards that jungle for where things are actually going to be happening right now. But this is awfully similar to what happened in the last game we watched between Enclave and M&M. We saw an early game jungler getting a lead against a Zac, but then everything flipped over just a few minutes later once it managed to get some ganks on the go. So this is definitely not over just yet. Yeah, and something to note is we said how Afflict got this early game advantage, invested some time into that kill on Poppy, which, don't get me wrong, was great. Demo caught up. He managed to just farm up, accepted, yeah, I'm a bit behind, I'll take some time, but he actually got to level 6 before Afflicted, so I think he's in a fine position, and this is where you want to start making plays. The difficulty is, the difference between this game and the last one, is the Galio. I mean, it's so hard because you know he's just going to come down. It makes it difficult to kill one target, and as you said, Hyperion have a very single target composition. The Malzahar is great for picking one person, but the Galio is also great for saving one person, so it's a back and forth. So the question then is, do we see Hyperion make Galio that one person? Maybe a gank in the mid lane could be the answer. We'll have to find out as we move on with the game. The pause is done with, we're back on into the action. Yeah, one thing to note is, I mean, you can see from Galio's build, it's a standard thing, you go towards magic resist, but there's not actually very much AD at all coming from Hyperion. The standard build from Avaris is you go for that Ginsu's, and then you do have some options, but the normal go-tos you go for on-hit tends to be items like the Wit's End, which is just more magic damage, and this Galio is just going to love that. I mean, not only does his kit scale very well with MR, but he has that magic damage shield, and as you said, it's great to punish the Galio, and that is how you play against the Galio, is that you pick on him so he can't ult himself, because I mean, it doesn't work like that, but when you only have, be a little bit broken, wouldn't it? When you only have magic damage, and he's stacking MR, I mean, you have to do it very quickly, or you might have a Sivir rushing in with ult, you might have the Kha'Zix coming in from invisibility, a TP from Shikari. Small windows Hyperion has, they have to make the picks work. Yeah, and we'll see a bit of poke, break the shield. You see Afflict charging on into the lane, just throws out his W, then walks away. So, okay. Was hoping for a little bit more, but we are going to see another pause coming on through here. So maybe one of the players struggling a little bit, maybe something going wrong at home, but hopefully we'll be able to get that resolved very quickly for you guys and get back into the game.
But so far, Misfits, they do have a small lead, but they're not really pushing that lead anywhere right now. Do you feel like they need to pick up the pace anytime soon, or are they still okay to just kind of take their time?
I think you can see from the moves they're making, they do know what their win condition is, and they are going towards it. You can see they've established vision around the mid lane. They have pink wards around the river, and it just means that you can see Afflict was able to run in there, and although there was no way to really gank because the wave pushed in the tower, he has freedom. And if he has freedom, it means he can apply pressure, he can move about, and not only that, Galio can as well. And it means that, you know, Misfits are free to make plays bot, they're free to make plays top, and they're going to have this Galio to back them up. And I think it's fine that they haven't sort of pulled the trigger too soon, because I think that's what you got to be careful of. Obviously, their comp is great at this early game point, but if you make a mistake, if your Galio ults and you end up losing the fight, that is such a massive hit. And we saw that in the game before, when an early game team makes some mistakes and falls behind, it's absolutely devastating.
Yeah, it really can be, and we'll see whether or not that is going to come on through, whether one of these teams starts to make some significant mistakes. Now, this is a pause coming through from Misfits, apparently one of the players struggling a little bit with ping, but looks like those issues have been resolved as we are going to jump back onto Summoner's Rift. And we'll see whether Misfits are going to be able to find themselves that early game lead that we have been talking about. But let's talk a little bit about the late game. Or actually, maybe not. Afflict? Oh, he is just going to hop on out. So let's actually...
fire there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because he's got some fire cape already, or Barmy Cinder on demo. But let's talk a little bit about what you're expected to see here as we head towards the later stages of the game. Let's say it's fairly even. Does one of these teams have a massive advantage when we get to that stage? Oh, here we go, actually. Let's do that conversation in a little bit, because we've got a fight in the mid lane. Suppression coming on through. Oh, nice little interruption there from Demo as well. Denies Special's ultimate. Just not really enough damage coming out from Emmy here.
You know, I mean, as much as that looked like an even trade, this is great for Hyperion. You can see Demo's now moving to establish vision control. Unfortunate Emmy lost his flash, but they burnt the Galio ult for very little recourse.
Yeah, and they interrupted it as well. Nice little pullback here. This could be a cult coming on through. Malefic Visions won't quite be enough to finish it, though, but great pressure coming out from Demo. Can't quite get a kill, but they got a lot of pressure out of it. The Summoners, importantly, though, still up for Misfits.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to kill as Galio, and the ult did save Kha'Zix. I think the huge thing is, though, you burnt that Galio ultimate. It's difficult, though, because they don't need that to make a play mid. You now have your Malzahar without the flash. If Kha'Zix comes mid, it's very difficult, especially since, I mean, that's what I'm looking for here. They don't have the Galio ult. Misfits aren't really in a great position to make a play in the side lane, so good to Hyperion, but they can make a play mid. Special could taunt flash onto Malzahar, and it's an easy setup for the Kha'Zix burst. So, you know, yes, it was a good play from Hyperion, but they're going to have to play extremely careful now, especially when this Galio ult comes back up, because a lot shorter cooldown than flash.
Yeah, it certainly is. We'll see if he's going to be able to use that elsewhere on the map. But the question will be, can Hyperion keep that pressure up, force him to use it in the mid lane? Here we go, Flick coming into the top lane. Dan knows all about this, though. We'll walk away with his life. Still a decent amount of damage coming out from a Flick, though. You want the kill coming through, but you're still happy if you can get a good chunk out of your enemy top laner like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good situation. This is a difficulty. They don't have the Galio ult, because if they did, Shikari can just jump on a Dan as soon as he wants and then have the follow-up. I mean, Afflict's trying to make things happen, but isn't able to do a ton. This is a difficulty of ganking with the Kha'Zix. You don't offer that CC, and if Dan sees it coming, he backs off and he plays safe. So good play from him to be a bit respectful.
Certainly showing that respect. Hyperion, now going to be a little bit of gold behind, but nothing too significant as Chrisberg is going to get engaged on. Nice flash from Prosper, dodge the knock-up there. And Unbreakable will stop any damage coming on through from Chrisberg. Flick wants to go in the mid lane. Emmy doesn't have his flash here. This could be dangerous, but once again, Afflict is just really struggling to find any ganks that'll stick.
Ooh, that camo.
Yeah, just sneaking away through that lane here. Special wants to make something happen, but he's in trouble right now. Demo has arrived as well. Look at that combo of the ultimates. Dan's coming on through as well. Oh, Justice Punch got silenced. That is absolutely huge, and Special surely will go down here. The silence is there. Malefic Visions, and Dan brings down the hammer.
Oh, really great play from, I mean, all of Hyperion, but Dan to come down for the roam. And we said it's so difficult to take down this Galio. He now has the Abyssal Mask, so much MR. But Dan came in, whacked him with a hammer, and Cena played bot lane.
Dajin wants this one. There's going to be a Varus ultimate as well. Oh, that's a nice little kill coming through for Hyperion. Just punishing Prosphere, saying, hey, you don't get to leave your turret just yet in the game.
And I absolutely love this confidence coming out of them. Oh, more action.
Could be in trouble here. Afflict is trying to solo him out. Should be able to finish this one off. Emmy cannot survive the situation. Teleport will be cancelled from Dan in the end.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess you're trying to push the wave out, but without your ult and without your flash, Malzahar is very vulnerable. But still, I'm liking the play from Hyperion. This is a team who are currently bottom of the standings, and they're saying to Misfits, undefeated, we're bringing it to you.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we saw against Wind and Rain as well. Early game confidence coming out from this team. I'm loving this coming out. Afflict will be happy with that kill he finally got in the mid lane as well, because you could see it was almost frustrating for him. Having ganked so many times and not really getting anything out of it. Finally, one of those ganks works out for him. But still a very even game between these two teams. You can't give the advantage really to either side right now, in terms of financially at least. But Afflict already looking for his second blue steal of the game.
Yeah, but you have to give testament to, we said how, looks like they're going for that Galio play finally.
Here we go. Dajin and Twisted Fate are going to be in a whole heap of trouble. That is going to be a massive ultimate. Knocks them both up. The taunt comes on through as well. Chris Biggers tanking the turret. And this is actually a 5-man play now. Afflict will walk away with his life. Nice juggling of the turret aggro. This is going to be a bottom lane tower. And in the meantime, Dan had based, so no real counter pressure except in mid.
And this is what we expect from Misfits. Just impeccable team play. They move their jungler and their mid lane in. They know that Poppy burnt TP trying to save Malzahar, and they get the 5-man play. Twisted Fate and Dajin were doing great in a 2v2, but not in a 5v2. And they not only lost that first tower, but because there's no pressure on the top side, they take 2, which is huge at this point in the game.
That is, as soon as we say, Hyperion are doing a great job, this is a super even game, Misfits are like, what's that, casters? You said that we're not winning yet. Immediately make a massive play, but now this could be the answer coming out from Emmy and from Demo. Doesn't quite get the ultimate. That is going to be Emmy's ultimate coming on through. They still want this one, but Special is just so damn tanky.
Oh, a bit of a misplay on the ultimate there, which, you know, cost them. Dan was ready in the wings to assist with the kill. And Special gets away. They're looking for this tower here. Does just survive, which is a saving grace for Misfits.
Yeah, that is a really unfortunate situation for Hyperion there. Let's take another look at this bottom lane dive.
Yeah, because you can see Afflict jumps in instantly, gets the Galio ult down, flashes out to drop aggro. EU Twisted Fate just locked up, unable to do much, and then the 5 members can clean up the swarm as well. Great play for Misfits there.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Hyperion trying to set up in the mid lane. They looked like they were trying to set up a siege there, but in the meantime, Chris Berg is just off pushing towers.
And this is what we've seen from Misfits. You know, they aren't the team. I mean, yes, they have talented members.
Oh,
one might be caught out here.
Yeah, you may be talented, but you're certainly not immune to getting caught in the jungle. Here comes Chris Berg, though, to try and protect his support. Knock-up lands onto Prosphere. They're trying to finish off this kill desperately. Varus ultimate comes on through as well. Twisted Fate is here, but Special's arrived as well. There's a taunt, and he's going to go down. It's a 2-for-1 for Misfits.
And this is what we said, you have to be quick in and out against Misfits with this Galio. They took a bit too long, and yes, they got the Janna pick in the end, but they lost 2 members for it. Not what you want to see. And Hyperion bot lane, both sitting on 2 deaths here, not what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yes, you get the Janna pick, but it's absolutely not worth it because, I mean, of all of the members of Misfits, that's the worst pick you can get anyway. And they pushed so hard to try and get that kill eventually, but they just didn't have the damage on the members that actually caught out the Janna. Yeah,
absolutely. But, you know, this is what we've seen from just picked up the Rissal, as I was saying. Misfits haven't been a team maybe comparable to Wind and Rain, who have very strong members who look to individually carry. Misfits are a team whose macro has been absolutely exceptional, and we've seen this here. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but the tempo has picked up. Got a Rift Herald, 3-tower advantage, and we are seeing the play here. You can see, throwing the CC down on the Prosphere, Dajin ult, but Janna's such a long range. I mean, the Varus ult catches the Janna, but Twisted Fate has to run through a Galio to get it. And then Braum dies off the side without any cooldowns. Just a massive overcommit where they weren't able to punish Prosphere. But props to him. Interrupted the last Zac jump with his tornado, and I think that did save him for long enough to get the rest of his team in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you're going to feel good, even if you died in that situation as Prosphere.
Yeah, you're going to type with an ult chat.
Yeah, exactly. You could just claim that you set that play up. It was all planned.
An elaborate bait.
Yeah, exactly. But here we go. We've got Dan heading down to the bottom lane now, just trying to get some pressure onto a turret. That's going to be answered by Shikari, so he shouldn't be able to get too much split pressure on the go. Special getting, I think, his 9th blue buff of the game already. Afflict has had just so much control.
37th, who's keeping count at this point?
Yeah, this is starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable for Hyperion. The gold lead is about 5,000 in favor of Misfits, which at 19 minutes is very significant. And I mean, when you take a look across the board, 1,500 gold almost in favor of Afflict, but it's also in that mid lane 1,500 gold in favor of Special. So Misfits, they're starting to really rack up those gold leads.
Yeah, and I think this is the difficulty. In the prior game, the Sivir was extremely fed, but here the gold lead is just spread across all the members. And the reason that just makes things so difficult is even if you take someone out, the rest of the team are still so strong, they're going to be able to put up such a fight. And we saw that. Yes, they took the Janna out, but the rest of the team were able to take a kill back. We've seen a Flick pop the Rift Herald here. And the health that towers at, it's going to be very difficult to defend.
Yeah, this should be just about one shot by the Herald, in all honesty. A couple more hits would do that one from the likes of Chrisberg. But here we go, Engage comes on through. This is a fight that apparently Hyperion won, but not going to be able to find the fight. Herald might just go down before it gets the turret, though. So nice counterplay from Hyperion to protect that tower.
Yeah, they bought quite a bit of space there. A lot of confidence from Chrisberg, didn't burn any summoners. Prosper didn't even need to interrupt the Zac, just simple spell shield usage and able to walk out. And it's just, this is why this bot lane was picked. So hard to engage on a Janna and a Sivir. And that's what they need, because you've seen they're going into this 1-3-1 sort of style. Shikari's just pushing bot lane, perfectly happy. And Hyperion, they're struggling to find an engaged mid, and they know that's their win condition. They know they need to make something happen. It's so difficult.
And Afflict so far, you know, he's getting pretty fed at this stage. He's quite happy to just solo out these objectives and continue to find basically anything worth his time right now. He went and got the Herald by himself, now grabbing that Cloud Drake as well. You know, Cloud's not the best Drake that you want, but it's still a Drake, right? It's still another little way to gain a small advantage over your opponents.
Absolutely. And speaking of advantages being gained over the opponent, something we said earlier about the changes to the jungle, the lack of Tracker's Knife. You can see both junglers sitting at a similar vision score, about 37, Afflict's now on 39. But if you look at the difference in supports, Crossfire just under double what Dacian's doing. And you can see how useful that is around the mid lane. I mean, a huge part of how Afflict is playing this Kha'Zix is the fact he wants to be out of vision. He can use his ult to move across the map with the mobility boots and look for picks. And he also has a Duskblade, which obviously gives the proc when he's on the scene. And this has been facilitated by Prosper. And we said, you know, these teams who have intelligent supports, who are really good with their macro and their vision control, can be a massive asset in this meta. Because props to Dacian, he was making, he made that pick work early on Prosper, try to get a second one follow-up. But it just seems, with regards to the macro side of things and with vision control, he's just not on the same level as Prosper.
Absolutely, it certainly feels that way right now. Prosper definitely one of the best supports in the UK. And looking to prove that this season as well. And I feel like this is a season for him to make that case, because, you know, he's a player that's been around for a very long time, but he's never been able to, you know, put his foot down and say, I am the best support in the UK. Maybe this is the season for him to really make a case for that.
Yeah, and I mean, he's come very close. Last split and the split before, he was undefeated. Actually, I think the split before he had one tie. That was when we had best of twos. Undefeated for the regular split, but then in playoffs, just I don't want to say fell apart, but
unable to convert it, yeah.
Unable to convert it, and I mean, you can only be heartbroken in that situation. I mean, there are players who don't make the playoffs, and it's a struggle, but to make the playoffs in such a fashion, undefeated, and then fall at the first hurdle is just devastating. And I think he very much is looking at this as a redeeming split. Yeah. The one where he comes in the playoffs, he's no longer regular split Prosper. He's no longer going to be the playoff Prosper who ends up failing. He's going to be the new and improved Prosper who just wants to dominate.
Absolutely, and so far this season it's been working fantastically. You were talking about how, you know, last split he went into playoffs undefeated. Right now, Misfits are currently undefeated again, so we could well see that come to fruition.
Maybe they need to lose. That's the key. Maybe they need to lose this game if he's going to win
out of the way early.
Yeah. I mean, we're making a joke about it, but the truth is, often losing exposes mistakes. And that's a difficulty. If you're not used to losing as a roster, if you're just used to winning all the time, and you go into playoffs and a team exposes you, it's so hard to adapt because you've spent this whole season just winning, winning, winning. You've sort of casually gloated through when these other teams have been sort of working hard, going, right, we need improving this, we need improving this, and they might have worked you out, spotted your weaknesses, and it's so hard. You
don't have very much time to change at that point.
I mean, a series can go like a blink of an eye. It's difficult, and I mean, I'm sure they're going to be working hard. I do know that Misfits did recently change their coaching staff. They're trying to do everything they can to keep being the team they are right now and keep things working, and I think you have to. Because a lot of people think, oh, you know, we're at the top, we don't need to do that much, but you need to keep working even harder than every other team because they're all aiming for you. And the thing with so much strategy in League of Legends is all these teams are going to be assessing your gameplay. They're all going to be going, this is what Misfits are doing, this is what led them to win, and if you don't come up with some other strategies, some variety, and some depth, then you're going to struggle. But props to Misfits, they have been here, they've shown, as we've said, they struggled in the early game. Particularly, they've had a lot of games where they've maybe just fell behind and then brought it back late in the game. But this is a time where they've decided to go for this more early game composition. They've got the hands in the Scalio, and so far they're making it work. They're now a 6.5k gold lead, and this is what I want to see from a team who are showing they're more than just a late game scaling team.
Absolutely, they're doing a phenomenal job this game, and I think one of the points you just brought up there, super important, is the fact that, you know, we've got teams at the top currently changing coaching staff and things like that. That's something that, you know, a year ago, you wouldn't... Changing coaching staff, you'd be surprised if all of the teams had coaching staff a year ago. So I feel like the UK scene and the Premiership especially is starting to get to a really professional level. It's starting to get to a point where it really matters that you are the best team, and it really matters that you have that support staff, that you have an entire squad, not just of players, but of staff behind them, coaches, analysts, to be able to analyze your opponent's games and really make sure that you can consistently get these victories. And so far, Misfits have been looking fantastic. And even with a flawless record, wanting to improve that staff behind the scenes shows really good things as we move towards the later stages of the season.
Absolutely, and that's so difficult. I mean, compared to a different team, Diabolos was clearly having massive issues. They switched out Hyperion for Cadril to bring a leader to the team. But that's a situation where they knew they were having issues, they knew what they had to fix, and they went out and fixed it. When you're winning constantly as Misfits, it's hard to go, I mean, it's not that it wasn't working, but then this can be a bit better. This can be better than it was before, and we want to make that adjustment before we get to the final, because it's hard to say, yes, we've won every game so far, but we're not confident it's going to keep going like this unless we perfect everything, and I like to see that. I like to see a team who aren't just happy with, you know, coasting through the split and hoping playoffs goes the same. They know that other teams are here to work. We have Diabolos with a new revamped roster with Cadril, who obviously has LCS experience. We have Wind and Rain, who on the other side of the groups has looked dominant, and XL, who out of all the rosters, the only one sitting in the gaming house, and that is definitely an asset which is going to help them out.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm very excited to see how this season ends up, because I feel like the next 2 or 3 weeks of League of Legends action are going to be very varied in terms of not just what you should expect from teams, but I think we're going to start to see upsets. I think we're going to really start to see teams coming into kind of forming the identities that they're going to have at the playoffs and during the actual live finals themselves. So these next few games for each of the teams is just so important. Now, obviously, we do have a pause coming on through. I will assume that that is the same issue that we had before coming out from Misfits. So hopefully they'll be able to, you know, kick the router, maybe give it a restart, and hopefully we'll be able to continue things. But so far,
tell your family to stop downloading stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Go and turn off Netflix downstairs so you can continue playing. But so far, Hyperion haven't been looking too bad in this game. Misfits do obviously have a very significant lead. This is a very comfortable position for them, but it's certainly not over yet. And Hyperion are in a position where, you know, they've got that Zac that does get better the later on in the game you get, because he can be so influential in those late game team fights. But you were right in saying before, it's difficult for him to have that effect against a composition like Misfits has. Absolutely.
And I mean, to compare to the game we had earlier, which was Enclave against M&M, the team who had a scaling composition got ahead. And I think that's what Hyperion need to look for, is to look for the scaling, because right now they don't have the damage to really kill anyone, especially with the Galio ult. They need a bit more time, they need a bit more items. It's difficult because it isn't like a pure scaling issue. They're going to struggle in the 1-3-1 at any point in the game, and Sivir and Janna do scale very well, but they're not going to win team fights right now. They have to do their best to stop Misfits from taking a Baron, potentially win something off there. A steal would be amazing, but, you know, that's a lot to hope for. but just look to get more items on the carry. And the thing is, the later the game goes, the less significant the gold lead is. I mean, an item difference at 1 and 2 items is huge. It's half your items. But later down the line, the difference between full build and 1 item less isn't as significant. So I think if they manage to stall out and stop this lead from extending, they do have a chance to get back in this game.
So then for the side of Misfits, is the goal to never allow that team fight situation, to try and always be spread out across the map, always be going for these 1-3-1s and like trying to force your opponent to play your style instead of playing their own win condition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because you can almost always have a numbers advantage with the Galio and the Kazakhs. You just want to keep the map pressured. And the thing is, the way they're playing now, because all 3 lanes are pushed up, it's so hard to get vision in that Baron pit. And, I mean, with a Sivir and a Janna, it's not the fastest Baron in the world, but they'll be able to do it fairly uncontested. And the difficulty is how are you supposed to face check that? Because if you walk into that Baron and they're waiting for you, it's so easy to shut you down. I mean, the thing with Zac is, yes, he has his ult, which can escape. His jump, it's hard to channel because you'll get CC'd. But his ult doesn't have a ton of range. And there's so much follow-up. I mean, the Kazakhs can leap on you, the Galio can, it's not a great situation. And they're going to struggle for control. And I think when it gets to this sort of point, past the 20-minute marks, gets a bit deeper in the game, Baron spawned, it's a real threat. It's so hard to play. And the thing is, like, every time they look to force, they're going to give away more pressure bot lane with Shikari pushing. So very difficult from here on out, but they need time if they want to have a chance at this game.
All right, they need to just try and stall things on out. We will have to see if they can continue to do that, as we'll hopefully be able to get back into the game shortly and see how Hyperion deal with this deficit. But the gold lead so far was around 6,000, I believe, before we jumped on into the pause. So Misfits, so long as they can continue with what they're doing, you can see the scoreboard right there. It's actually almost getting towards 7,000 at this stage. So Misfits definitely feeling good. And let's actually take a look at the gold differences. Shout out to our production team in the back there. But we do have a pretty significant gold lead basically in every lane. It's not really one lane dramatically ahead of the others. Obviously, we do have a significant lead in the jungle there, about 2,000 for him. But everyone else around 1,000 gold ahead of their lane opponents.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation to be in because, I mean, in the last game, the Sivir was obviously huge, but if you kill her, you kill her gold lead. It's off the map until she respawns, whereas here, everyone's got a pretty consistent gold lead. They're going to be stronger. The one thing that you can say, the one advantage, is if you're looking at a Poppy and a Zac, they don't need as much gold as a Camille. They don't need as much gold as a Kazakhs. And then on the other side of the map, you have this Varus. He's now on a 2-item spike. That's pretty good for a Varus, whereas Sivir, yes, she has a BF sword, building towards a 3rd item, but until she gets those 3 items, I don't think she's as strong, flat out, compared to the Varus. The difference is, though, the Sivir has the Janna, which is definitely going to help provide a lot of threat. I mean, I'm saying it like, you know, the Varus isn't just going to be able to challenge the Sivir, but they're not in an awful position. The gold lead is a bit misleading right now, because it's how they use the gold. But, I mean, Misfits are in a great position just to keep snowballing.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll see how those items are going to come into play as well. Because, I mean, it's good for you to bring up the differences between the 2 styles of AD carry almost. That Rageblade style versus kind of crit items like Sivir builds. And how, you know, the crit items, yes, you can be ahead, but actually they're sort of less effective until you have more of them because they kind of almost... They build one another up. More crit chance, more crit damage is always going to help your other items come on into their own as well. So the Rageblade, you kind of only need those 2, like you say, the Wit's End and the Rageblade, just such a powerful duo of items. And then as you start to get things like Hurricane, etc., then things start to snowball more. But we'll have to see how that's going to pan out and whether that's going to affect the strength of these carries in the team fights as well.
The difficulty is, though, that, I mean, we said Hyperion aren't in a great situation to teamfight now. They're very far behind, and they do have an element of scaling because the Malzahar is going to offer more late game damage than the Galio. The issue is that your Varus is at its peak. Yes, he's still going to be useful later on. The Sivir is just only going to get stronger, and unlike the game before, I mean, obviously it didn't go the way of M&M, who I mean, it went the way of Enclave anyway early, who were scaling composition. But in this situation, it's not as clear-cut. There are still very strong elements on the side of Misfits, and so you can't just wait until, oh, it hits 30 minutes, hits 40 minutes, and we're going to win. They're still going to have to do a lot to make this game work for them. And it's difficult, and I think they're waiting for Misfits to make a mistake, which, unfortunately, when you're an undefeated team in the league, is pretty uncharacteristic.
Yeah, I mean, so far they haven't really been making very many mistakes. We'll have to see how this one's going to continue to pan out. I'm excited to see what Hyperion do have as we head towards the late game, though. Obviously, we saw earlier on today, Hyperion had a fantastic game going up against Wind and Rain, which is kind of the Group B counterpart to what Misfits have been for Group A. So definitely a team with a lot of potential, definitely a team that could make things happen, could still have a big impact, not just on this game, but on the league as well. Let's remember that Hyperion currently 1-5 on the table. Raise the Governors also 1-5 on the table, so definitely still room to get into playoffs and maybe make it to the live finals. Now, we are going to break down how this early game has been panning out a little bit more, so I'm going to pass it over to Xscoundrel on the Weatherman. Talk to me about how Misfits have managed to build up this lead.
Yeah. A lot of it came again, like we've seen on the previous game, playing around that bot lane, playing around with Sivir. Let's start here on this dive. Really well coordinated. You wouldn't expect anything less from Misfits. There's been a few trades back and forward across. We've got a couple of kills either side, but this is again classic Misfits. 5-man coordinated dive in the bot lane to play around getting that first turret, open up the early rotation to rotate your Sivir to another lane. She can then shove those waves in. They actually get 2 turrets off the back of this. Obviously, Orcs pointed that out, and you see Hyperion trying to respond elsewhere. They didn't really have the map position. You can see Poppy nowhere near pushing her turret in. Malzahar's trying his best, but he's not going to get it by himself. So they actually take this opportunity to get 2 turrets off the board, giving them a big global gold advantage. And again, this is just what makes Misfits good. It's their team coordination, playing a little bit like LCS level teams, you know, just coordinating their dives really, really well. Here, just check out Prosfair. We talked a little bit about Prosfair's mechanics, but that was an excellent Janna ultimate to really disengage back from that Zac. And again, Misfits collapse so nicely. What we see from Misfits is that as a team, they're always ready to back each other up. They're always ready to anticipate situations, and everybody chips in to turn around or gain an advantage. 5-man bot lane dive, 4-man turn around in the top lane, and again, they can turn that into an advantage by then going top lane after taking that fight. So it's a really well-coordinated early game, and it's a bit of a change of pace from what we've seen from Misfits, because the early games have often been a little bit messy. So this is a big difference change from what we've seen previously from Misfits, and it's working out really well so far.
Yeah, it certainly has been working out. And interestingly as well, it took them about 15 minutes before they actually started to abuse that early game power that they had. It was kind of like, you know, they started off and we weren't sure whether they were going to have that early game impact.
Yeah, I think what's really, really cool is that sometimes things get a bit messy for Misfits in the first 10 to 15 minutes. They actually kept it really smooth. Yeah, there was a couple of trades either side, but they knew exactly what they were doing when they went to set up for that bot lane tier 1 dive. They had the perfect style composition to make it work, and with the 5-man coordinated double teleport, the Galio also using his ultimate to get into the fray as well. That is a perfect tower dive situation, and they've just taken that and snowballed it.
Absolutely, and their composition lends to that perfectly. Thank you very much, Xscoundrel, for a bit more insight there. Now, I do believe we do have the players jumping back onto the server, so we should be able to get the game back up and running very shortly for you guys. But fantastic stuff coming out so far from Misfits. For anyone who's been missing what's happening so far, let's have a little bit of a recap. Obviously, Xscoundrel showed you a couple of the clips here, but Misfits, 6,500 gold ahead right now, feeling very strong, and they've got this composition that, as we saw there, can be very coordinated, can very quickly turn from just 2 or 3 players into all 5 jumping into a lane.
Yeah, and that's a difficulty, especially towards, you know, the time when Baron is a real threat. You make one mistake and that's going to give it over to them. And the thing is, something I noticed as well is that minion dematerializers, there was 6 on the side of Prosfair initially. I think he used a couple. And there were 6 on the side of Emmy on Hyperion. He's used all of them, so they don't have one available. And as we said before, the Varus does a lot of magic damage. So it's really going to be difficult to clear this banner minion out. And so if the Baron goes over to not just this miles ahead Misfits comp, but this 1-3-1 Misfits comp, it's going to be extremely difficult to do anything at all. And the thing is, yes, Hyperion can stall out. They can maybe spend another 5 minutes, 10 minutes stalling out. But if they make one misstep, that'll be Baron. And as soon as they lose that Baron, it's going to be extremely difficult to have a chance in this game.
So my question then is, in that situation when Baron is this important, you're going to be pushed in the lanes, as we talked about earlier. Vision controllers obviously going to be going the way of Misfits when we talk about that Baron pit area. What do you do as Hyperion to try and... Do you have to just face check in, or is like, how do you try and find the best of that situation?
I think it's difficult now because they're constantly being shoved in, but when you get any space, you look for good ward placements. It doesn't necessarily have to be on Baron, but on paths towards Baron that maybe sweep less frequently. One of the big changes is that because of the changes to vision control and the tracker's knife, there's less wards that are going to come out from either side. Obviously, because normally you have a jungler who puts down his own wards, you have the support as well. And so there's a bit less vision control. So if you can sneak a ward in, it can just show you when the Baron's up. And I think the key thing they want to do is get a flank from the Poppy with a TP once they are 100% committed to this Baron. And that's when you can win a team fight. That's when you can sort of get back into this game. Particularly, as we said, they have a lot of magic damage on the composition. Baron will only increase that damage. And that's what they need. They just need to win one big team fight. And we said they have a decent comp going in the late game. I mean, we're saying that's it, but it is a big if. And I think they just need to be smart about it, know when they're being baited or not. Because the thing is, Misfits Baron isn't that fast. Siv's single target damage isn't her biggest asset. Galio, again, doesn't have the most DPS.
I mean, his damage at all is not his biggest asset,
yeah,
right?
he's a tank. Kha'Zix does have a fair amount testament to him with the isolated damage. But even so, I don't believe there hasn't been any Mountain Drake so far either. So they have windows in that regard. They just need to be patient and smart, because what I worry is that as soon as Misfits head towards that Baron and get some control, there's just going to be a face check, and the moment they lose 1 or 2 members, it's going to be game, because they'll get the Baron, the banned minion is just going to devastate the base. And
that's a dicey situation at that point. Yeah, it's definitely going to be difficult for Hyperion. Hopefully for them, they'll be able to keep control of the situation and hopefully get some vision around that Baron area. I'm definitely hoping Hyperion can stall out for a while. I'd love to see some late game team fights between these two teams, because I think Hyperion is one of these squads that, while they don't have the wins on the board just yet, they're definitely a team that has, you know, mechanically adept players on their squad. They definitely have the potential to really win out fights. And when we talk about Misfits, it's the macro that we praise, not the specific mechanics. So maybe in a late game team fight scenario, if the two teams are more even, it could be something where Hyperion actually could come ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have Emmy, the new addition to the roster, came in with demo as well. And he looked really solid in the game against Wind and Rain. Yes, they did end up losing it in the end, but I mean, this is another top team in the league. It's a hard competition, but he showed a lot of life, particularly on this Caston pick, who did well in the later stages of the game. And EU Twisted Fate is someone who is very confident on this Varus, and they can do work in a team fight. If anything's botched slightly, Varus and Malzahar are someone who can clean up fights so well. Varus has a lot of sustained DPS, and Malzahar, once you take down one target, that Malefic Visions is going to spread, especially as you get better items to, I mean, potentially could go into Rylai's. It just keeps, it's so hard to escape the amount of lockdown if you watch and engage. And it just shows that this game sort of is anyone's at this point. Misfits are in a very dominant position, and it's obviously favoured towards them, but there is still a lot of hope for Hyperion. They have win conditions, and it's just whether they're able to reach them.
Shout outs to the ducky in the river there, just sailing past on that beautiful camera shot we've got coming on.
That's my MVP.
Yeah, ducky is always MVP. Here we go, game's underway, ladies and gentlemen. We've made it back in, and Crosshair is gone again, I think, maybe?
Yeah, I think he might have been.
It looks like he's moving on the minimap, so I think that was just more of a spectator catching up kind of situation. So, let's have a bit of a let's take stock of our inventory here, because that was a pretty big break in this game. Taking a look at specifically this Sivir right here, you mentioned it before, you got the tier 2 boots, you got 2 of the tier 3 items, but yet to hit that 3-item power spike that you see on the Sivir, whereas on the other side, EU Twisted Fate, he's got 2 items under his belt. He's got the Hurricane, got the Rage Blade. Now he's actually going towards the Blade of the Rune King as well. So you can definitely feel like Varus right now actually could likely have a bigger impact in a fight than the Sivir.
I would agree with you until this point right now, where Chris Big just cashed in and bought an Infinity Edge. So this is now the point where, I mean, because under normal circumstances, a Sivir is great with 3-item spike. But when you have a Janna as well, the extra AD just makes it so much more lethal. And he's now in a position where he's going to be critting so hard. I do respect the decision from EU Twisted Fate to go towards that Blade of the Rune King. You know that you are lacking physical damage, and it is the right decision. But Sivir is only going to get stronger from this point. And, I mean, if they get a good team fight now, which is possible, and Varus manages to finish his Blade of the Rune King, he'll be fine. But until then, Chris Big's going to be a massive threat. And the other issue is we're not just seeing gold advantages, but level advantages. We're seeing a level advantage in AD carry, mid, and in the jungle role. We are actually seeing a level disadvantage for Crosshair, which might confuse some of you, but the reason being is that often a team who are ahead will leave the experience just for their AD carry. We are seeing a Baron start up for Misfits here, though. Hyperion are aware and will just place some wards, seek them out. And this is good. They moved up as a team.
Yeah.
They called Misfits out.
I mean, this is exactly what we were talking about, right? The vision control would be in favor of Misfits, and then Baron is suddenly this massive danger zone for the side of Hyperion, but they still have good control of their side of the jungle, their red side of the jungle, so they can walk up towards that pit without, just being devastated immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. And looks like it might be started up again. So this is a tactic that's normally used, is you have your bot lane push mid, as your mid and jungle already start the Baron. And it buys a little bit of time because the other team doesn't think it started with the bot lane not there.
Yeah, I mean...
that's actually a bit of a mistake there. They used the first blue trinket, called them out on it, but then they weren't 100% sure they'd gone off it, and they followed up with a second blue trinket. Doesn't sound like much, but those now are both on cooldown, and they have nothing to check. And now Kha'Zix is sitting in the pit, clearing all the vision, and this is a time where you're going to have to walk up. You have to place your own ward in if you want to check.
Yeah, and Prospect just getting rid of that Scrying Orb as well on that plan. Just like, no, you don't get this one. This isn't a free way in. Afflict, taking huge amounts of damage from the Baron. And this is the issue that you were talking about during the break as well. They don't actually get to take the Baron very quickly.
Yeah, and I don't think Kha'Zix is the best to tank that Baron. I guess they were trying a bit too hard to call the bluff from Hyperion.
I love how many wards are in that pit as well.
Yeah.
There's about 10 wards.
I mean, that's the thing, because the control ward obviously denies the vision from a ward, but you get a bit of time when you place it, so you just throw a couple of down, gives you a few windows. As you'll see, well, actually, no, I think that was a zombie ward coming up, but gives you a little window. But both sides having those zombie wards, litter in the pit, lots of free gold to pick up. Smart decision from Misfits, just pick up the dragon in the meantime. But this is a difficulty, because they sort of need all 4 members, bar Shikari, if they really want to have a chance of getting this Baron. They need Galio to tank it. They need the damage from Sivir and Kha'Zix. It's not a fast process, and that's why they keep trying to bait it and they're looking for a fight instead. But until now, they've struggled to find anything.
They certainly have been struggling, but Misfits do still have a pretty significant advantage in this game. 6,500 gold lead. They now have an Ocean Drake in their pocket as well, so that's going to be good amount of sustain available for them. One of the interesting things about this game that I do want to bring up is the fact that because Misfits have had so much control of the early game when it comes to composition, when it comes to gold lead, it means that Hyperion actually haven't taken out any towers yet this game, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but having those tier 1s up just gives you so much defensive control of your side of the map. There's no way that Hyperion can really, even if they get control of an area, they can't really push into the enemy jungle very safely. Yeah, it's a really difficult position to be in. The standing goals there, and as you said, the vision control and the ability to push waves in. This is why Hyperion are struggling to contest vision, is because their waves are constantly shoved in. They can only shove them to the middle of the map, and it's just a difficult position to be in. The advantage is, though, should a turnaround come, should Hyperion get some sort of advantage, they have so much free gold on the map that they're able to take. Dajin smartly just comes up and does a gentle face check, doesn't want to go too aggressive. This is one of the difficulties with the Sivir Janna bot lane, is yes, they're very hard to engage on and very safe, but Hyperion aren't looking to engage here. They're looking to get some vision down, and it's Misfits that are looking to engage. Blue Trinket did come down there, I believe, so they do know this Baron is being started. They are going to walk over and check. Yeah, they warded over that one as well. Shikari starts the engage, so this could be a massive fight for either team. Whoever wins this one could take a huge advantage, but so far, it's going the way of Hyperion. The kills traded back and forth, though. Demo is going to be the next one to go down as Dajin is focused as well. In the meantime, Chrisberg still alive, still sweeping up these kills. That's Afflict with 1, and it is a 3-for-1 in favor of Misfits.
Oh, I mean, it was a great engage for Misfits, that's all I can really say. Shikari went in with the confidence, he knew the Galio was going to follow up. Just really unfortunate. EU Twisted Fate managed to get that kill onto the Camille, then the Galio damage just picked up this Rabadon's death cab. Just murdered him, absolutely cut through him, didn't even get a chance to heal, just caught off guard, and this is where it gets really dire for Hyperion. Misfits have the Baron. They have the Baron for this 1-3-1 push. And we can see the fight comes out here. Shikari engages maybe a bit early. It's quite a while before the Galio comes down, but he is kept alive by it. EU Twisted Fate tries to flash out, but Galio just one-shots him. And in the meantime, Chrisberg, he's picked up his last Whisper, and he just shreds through these tanks. Zac goes down, Poppy goes down. No way to contest the Baron.
Yeah. And it's difficult because when the second EU Twisted Fate was caught by Special's ult there, and then comboed immediately off the back of that, he is the vast majority of Hyperion's damage right now. So if he gets caught, if he goes down in those fights, it becomes very difficult. You know, when you're against the likes of a Camille, it's very easy to get caught out in that situation and end up going down very quickly.
And that's the thing. Chris Berg was almost unchallenged there, just able to constantly ricochet through the team fight. And as not only had his 3-item spike there, but also picked up a Last Whisper. So yes, these tanks have invested heavily into defensive items, which, as we said, are quite cheap to pick up. He did not matter one bit against that Sivir.
They certainly did not. You can see Chris Berg just melting through minion waves at this point. Now has a Last Whisper as well, or Lord Dominic's Regard, should I say. He's really starting to get towards that late game carry status.
Something interesting to note is we haven't actually seen the Banner of Command come out from anyone on the side of Misfits. I can understand it from one point of view. Camille and Kha'Zix aren't the sort of champions who would use it. You normally build it on a tank. But not seeing it from Prosper, to me, this is a sort of situation where he says, you know, we don't massively need the Banner. We do have this massive advantage in 1-3-1. You can see they're still taking towers very easily. And it gives them more team fighting power. The Ardent Sensor, obviously, everyone, I mean, Galio doesn't massively, but the rest of the team like that extra damage, like that extra attack speed, and also the shield power. You can see how much healing and shielding Prosper was able to do in that fight. Kept Chikari alive for a very long time. And, you know, I'm not necessarily saying it's the best decision, but I understand the decision to go towards more raw combat power inside of Misfits, just to ensure that when they have that team fight there, they won it very distinctly. And, you know...
Well, I think a good way of saying it is, like, what Banner of Command offers you is sieging power, but realistically, Misfits right now, they have sieging power. Yeah. It's not actually something that they struggle with too much, so it's almost an unnecessary win condition for them right now.
Yeah, and invested into different areas, which has obviously worked out for them so far, but you can see is a bit of a struggle to push in top. Is that an issue? No, because you have the Galio in the bot lane, and Afflict's actually the one who's hanging out mid lane. But this is a difficulty for 1-3-1. It's like they have this wave clear in Varus, but he has to move around. Yeah. Malzahar has some wave clear, but it's hard to cut through those melee minions, and so his melee visions can't spread, which means he just can't get through these waves. And you see, they have to bring 4 here to answer, meanwhile Galio's just pushed in the bot lane. But, I mean, I feel like Misfits could be handling this better, because they're going a 4-1 instead of a 1-3-1, and it means that the 4 of Hyperion are fine clearing these waves out.
Yeah, you have to give credit where credit's due to Hyperion here. They are just clearing through these waves. And, like, you know, if an inhibitor doesn't drop during this Baron buff, which I believe there's what, less than a quarter left remaining on that, that's, oh, in fact, it's just gone now. Baron has just dropped off at this stage. So now Hyperion, they can easily clear through minions, but Elder Drake is spawning on the map, so this could be the difference maker. That's
massively unfortunate timing. Elder Dragon only spawns after 35 minutes, and we are seeing it just spawn now. If it had been a minute earlier, it would have been another Elemental Drake, which would have been great for Hyperion, because you can give those up, stall it out for a bit longer. I was going to say how great it is that they managed to keep their base unbroken. They managed to keep the inhibitors up throughout this Baron, but they're so far behind now. They are looking for an engage, though.
Yeah, Demo wants to go in on this one. Doesn't find anyone with the ultimate, though. Actually, that's not a very good situation for Hyperion after that. Demo will be split into his cells now. In fact, doesn't even have his passive. He's just going to go down, and now Hyperion, a man down with Elder Dragon on the map. That is pretty much as bad as that engage could have gone.
Yeah, I can respect Demo going for it. They saw an opportunity where they had to force an engage. They knew if they let the other team get Elder Dragon, it was going to be a pretty dire situation, but they weren't able to make it happen. I mean, it's so difficult against a Sivir and a Janna to get this engage as a Zac. I mean, this is why they came out with these picks when the Zac was picked up. And now Misfits have the Elder Dragon, and you can see they're just cutting through this tower. Hyperion don't even want to oppose it.
Yeah. This is a comfortable situation for Misfits. They're going to get the mid lane inhibitor at least. In the meantime, Special is pushing that top lane. Won't be surprised to see the rest of the team rotating on towards that top side of the map. Maybe they can look for a tower here as well. Great control of the neutral objectives coming out from Misfits here, and we've praised them on their macro play before. It is coming up huge for them now as they try and push on towards this inhib. Ult comes out from EU Twisted Fate there, but doesn't connect to anyone.
And this is the thing, Hyperion are desperate, understandably. they are in such a difficult position, and it's not going to get easier. Baron is spawning in 1:20, and once these super minion waves start pushing in, it's going to be even harder to contest. They still have 0 tap.
Oh, here we go. Ultimate starting to come through from both sides here. Shikari is the focus, but he somehow survives. Gets a bit of a heal coming through. Demo's going to go down as well. It's a double kill for Chris Berg, and he wants more kills to boot as well. He's not going to find anything else there. It is going to be a 3-4-0. Another inhibitor going down. Misfits, are they going to look to end right now?
I think they are. Shikari's going to TP back in to keep the minion live.
Here we go. This could be the end of the game. EU Twisted Fate has a lot of pressure on his shoulders, but he's been taunted and immediately knocked into his GA. He's going to be falling here. That could just spell the game right now. Flick just about walks away with his life, but it's all about Chris Berg, who is chunking through these turrets. I thought they'd have to do another push, but this is going to be the game for Misfits. 14-4. Hyperion, they stalled out a long time, but just couldn't turn it into anything.
Yeah, Misfits look dominant.